Alright guys, as you might already know by now, Pokemon Horizons has been dropping some heat on its lab since Mega Voltage has been coming out. There's only so many times I can start off a video like this. And from here, we went from the Zygarde Cube getting its anime debut to a cat fight between some of the more popular starter Pokemon in recent times. And even further, there seems to be a hint yet again about what this saga's formula might be, and without stalling any longer, let's get started. By the way, by the time I finished this, episode 94 came out, and because I have less to say about it to the point it wouldn't survive as a standalone video, I'm just gonna shoehorn this as a bonus. Will it ruin the flow and vibe of the video? Probably. Will it save me some time and energy? Yes. And so for some quick little lore, one of Dot's tasks while helping the main duo out is using her influencer reach to gather info about rare Pokemon. And Liko and Roy are scouted to meet with a fan that mentioned seeing a black Rayquaza, and this is where we really start. First of all, I don't know if Dot's way of asking for Pokemon sightings is really that good. Like, I'm no big time content creator or anything, but I think there should be more of a given reason for all of this so there's more engagement. Like, maybe say this is for a video that you're working on or something, I don't know. But not to drag on it, let's just get back to the Needlething fan stuff. Basically, the fan in question is known as Nyabiko, which is just Nyabi fan, or aka Litten fan, but since Nyabiko sounds more like a name, we'll just refer to her as that. And to get to one plot twist out of the way, she doesn't know anything about the Black Rayquaza. Multiple quick snippets in the episode show her being funky, smelly, shady when it's brought up, and that's not even like the main problem of the episode, because once again, Roy leaks that he's a part of the Rising Voltaclers, and it's like, bruh. I know the point is to try and restore their rep, but Roy should not be so open about giving his affiliations with alleged terrorists. But before Needlething could potentially get cancelled, Nyabiko sends out an Incineroar and proposes the duo to run them hands. On a side note, I like how organic of a reason she has to not help them, because so far she's only been a problem for reasons regarding Needlething. It's not like she sucked before, but rather she now has a bit more layers, so it's pretty much only getting better from here. But for the actual battle, Liko steps in with Meowscarada, and on paper, Incineroar is too strong. Meowscarada has to dodge around for how powerful the attacks are, and by the time she goes on the offensive, Incineroar is already setting up a +1 on attack and defense. So she tries to use a bit of tricky offense by tripping it up, but it doesn't matter because Incineroar is all gas, no brakes, and reels Meowscarada into a flamethrower. So far, Incineroar is living up to the hype, but for round 2, Meowscarada changes tactics by using some more trickier offense instead of the same strat that was in their face like last time. And after this and that of just throwing out attacks, by the time Incineroar has an opening for a free flamethrower, a flower trick was planted to detonate. And bro, I can't lie, this battle was kinda going crazy. Everyone locked in, we see the reactions. It's almost like watching an episode of Reaction Piece, but soon after, the battle gets interrupted by Ult with 2 whole hordes of Pokemon right after him. From what I saw, a small chunk of people were not a fan of this. Not a crazy ton, but a little enough for me to kind of want to bring it up. And for my opinion on that, let's just wait until the summary's over to talk about it. But instead of just beating up the 2 hordes, we calm them down with vibes, tunes, tricks. I'm not gonna lie to you, I kinda tuned out to this, but it's certainly not bad. Seeing as the main trio are trying to redeem their name, this is more important to show, since this is what convinced Nyabiko that they're cool people. And after this is where we actually get the reveal that I said earlier that Nyabiko didn't actually see Rayquaza. But at the end of the day, the fact that the Rising Voltaclers gained at least 1 more supporter was arguably just as good, and that's where the episode ends. To be honest, this was a good episode. One that definitely gets better with time. Initially, I had this for the worst episode of the cycle so far, which is not really saying a lot since it's 4 episodes, but now I'd probably say this is maybe around 2nd or 3rd favorite. And to continue some leftover thoughts, let's get back to the episode's main controversy. ult interrupting the main battle. There's many small factors to what could have made this a bad thing, but to talk about two that caught my eye, one is simply stopping a really good battle from finishing. There's also the fear of ult becoming a Team Rocket-like character, and not in the good way, instead of just being a more serious treated one. And my opinion on ult interrupting the battle? I don't mind. I was a bit iffy on this, followed up on trying to calm the hordes, but like I said, this made more sense when it was meant to show the main cast being good people. Beating up the horde wouldn't really change much, and defeating Nyabiko sure wouldn't have improved on anything. Also, regarding on how ult is treated, I think he's simultaneously both a joke and a serious character. He obviously has a running trait of being an annoyance, but at the same time, the show doesn't hold back on trying to make him lock in. On a side note, I was a bit confused on why he knew what was going on with the Black Rayquaza, but I'm totally pinning it on the fact that he was probably hearing them from stalking Liko and Roy. And for the first time, ult is actually leaving them instead of them leaving him. And it's so funny because he's most likely just gonna go back to tailing them, so he's probably just in a bush outside of their line of sight. And while we're talking about two characters, let's get to the highlight one of the episode, Nyabiko. There wasn't really too much I thought about her, excluding the fact she had Littens and Incineroar, but she absolutely sold me on how much of a slime she was. With all the multiple traits about her, it's very easy not to like her, but it did the opposite with me. Overall, what I liked was just how much of a girl failure she was. Like, firstly, she copied and pasted Liko's online tag and swapped Nyauha with Nabi, got on her knees to needle thing like she was a divine figure, Ben lied about seeing Rayquaza just for clout chasing, and that with how she had this one-sided rivalry with Liko, and all these traits together made her one of the more favorite one-off characters in the series. One last tidbit before we sign off though is another hint for the saga's formula. I mentioned last time they'll do a Monster of the Week format, but after seeing this, it seems they'll also spend time on certain episodes improving on the reputation of the Rising Voltaclers. When seeing one of the final shots in the opening, I assumed these random characters were just going to be people that showed up in the saga. But now I'm starting to believe that this will be the supporters the main trio will slowly gain as these episodes go on. Although that's likely everything I have to say for this episode. So going over episode 94, there's two big factors to take away with this: Molly's return and another Rock Room affected Pokemon. I don't know how important people think the Molly return actually is, but this is the first time we're seeing somebody from the Rising Voltaclers other than the main trio after the time skip. And furthermore, we get more insight about the crew's disbandment. It relatively shows the same stuff we already knew, but it's more so revealed that this was done for the kids' sake. So even though they could have hidden the fact that the Rising Voltaclers or even going by a new identity, they're doubling down on who they are to reveal the truth, because no matter what, that's who they are. And you know what? Let me just apologize to Roy, because just a few minutes ago, I was talking about how he shouldn't be so open about his affiliations, but bro, know what he is doing, my fault. And that other half of the Rock Room sign Pokemon, it traces back to what I said about how this saga might do a Monster of the Week. It's an all-white battle that doesn't involve Mega Evolution spam to win like the last two. It actually writes out the main powerhouses to let Liko's side Pokemon shine, which stood out. But before I give more thoughts on that, I ought to mention after the reunion and wild battling, the episode just ends with the duo chasing the hint about the spears made by Exceed mentioned earlier in the episode. For the fraction of people that may not know, Exceed is just a more public and corporate side of the Explorers, so yeah, Explorers episode. But overall, this episode was okay. Probably the weakest so far, but that's just a matter of the others being too strong rather than this being actually weak. On a side note, there was a nice reveal that Molly canonically is a part of the Nurse Joy family. It's not like it wasn't a super obvious cookie cutter reveal or anything, given the implications of both dialogue and just the design, but it's still insane news that it's 100% shown, told, and bona fide confirmed. But getting back to the Rock Room sign battle, I gotta appreciate the variety once again. I've heard people congratulate the more usage of Liko and Roy's side Pokemon in the saga, and while I agreed, I didn't have a strong enough opinion to bring it up. But this episode might be the prime example of that, and what finally made me bring it up. Unless I'm mistaken, this might actually be the first Pokemon out of the main trio other than their main starters to terrestrialize, so this is a huge jump. And for those that don't watch the previews, I'll only hint that we might get a good portion of both lore and character moments, but that's relatively all I gotta say with episode 94. At this point, the review portion is done. From here, it's just me yapping for the sake of yapping, but I might try an alternative approach to talk about Horizons. With how badly timed the the episodes come out and just the length of which I make them nowadays, it's hard to complete them on time by the end of the weekend where the hype is still fresh. But I shouldn't ramble on more than I need to, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got for now. Yep.
Do it now! Get off your couch and